is the last word on sports. Fourth down on 4.
Welcome into Fourth Down on 4. I'm Scott Cody. Thanks for staying up with us tonight. The NFL Combine began this week in Indianapolis. More than 330 players were invited. Each will be poked and prodded by NFL coaches and scouts, all in an attempt to find out just who can or cannot play at the next level. Players are timed or measured in the 40-yard dash, the shuttle run, the three-cone drill, the vertical and broad jump, and the bench press. They'll also go through countless interviews and psychological exams. But just exactly how do NFL teams translate all of those numbers? We caught up with the Saints Director of Player Personnel, Rick Mueller, before he left for Indianapolis to find out what can make or break a player at the NFL Combine. Obviously, speed's important in that to look at. But is there anything else that's hidden in the 40-yard dash that maybe a lot of people don't know about?
No, there's really not. I mean, it's an opportunity for those guys to run. You know, 320 guys out there, they're all going to run on the same surface under the same conditions, and it's a good comparison for us to the other guys in the draft, you know, with that player. So, you know, really we're looking at the end result. For an offensive lineman, they're not going to run 40 yards very often, so you're looking more at the 10 time than you are the 40 time for the big guys, the defensive linemen, the offensive linemen. The defensive ends, you can really tell their overall speed with a 40-yard dash.
I've heard that one of the most underrated drills, though, is that shuttle run that maybe a lot of people don't understand it. You guys look at it, that incorporates speed, quickness, explosiveness, all in one drill.
It is a very telling drill. You can see their athletic ability. You know, it's also something, though, that you can practice. So, you know, if you're prepared for the combine, you've done that enough to where you're going to do it the right way, because you can save some time if you know how to do it correctly. But you hit on the most important things. That drill, you can see speed, you can see quickness, you can also see change of direction and suddenness that you don't see in a 40-yard dash. So, you know, it's important. The thing about that is very similar to the 40-yard dash. You're going to see a lot of guys with a time in a certain general range, but you'll see those guys separate themselves where there'll be some special times in that.
Come on.
The three-cone drill, that's a complicated drill. If you haven't done it, is that one of the things that you guys look at too? All right, we're going to set something up that we can judge speed, quickness on. We also want to see how well they take direction.
You know, I don't think it was designed for that, but again, more so than the short shuttle we were talking about. That is a drill where, you know, you're not just doing running down to a line, touching it, and coming back and finishing. You're actually starting somewhere. You're gonna run down, touch a line, come back, run around a corner, and you have to run around the outside and come back to the inside, and you know, you can't touch the cones. You know, you can't hit the cones, or you got to start over. So, you know, if you follow directions and you listen, you're going to understand. But, you know, if a guy's having to do it 4 or 5 times, you know, obviously there's something there that, you know, if you're asking him to do that three-cone 4 or 5 times, you know, you're going to have to ask him to run that route the way you want it run 4 or 5 times. You know, there's a little bit of correlation, I think. And what kind of explosive muscle fiber do these guys have? Because, you know, you're at a standstill, you're going to jump as high as you can, or you're going to jump as far as you can in those 2 drills. And as basic as they seem, you know, the guys that can jump, the really athletic guys, they're going to jump high. You know, the guys that have that explosiveness, they're going to jump far.
That's real, huh?
What's the strangest drill you've seen a coach do with a player at any position?
You know, I don't know. If you follow these workouts and you're looking for a defensive lineman, you always see Tim Krumrie, who played for the Bengals. He's coached in the league a number of years, and he always gets in a drill with the defensive lineman. And it's a hands drill, but it's also an endurance drill. And they'll have their hands and they'll slap together, and he'll push them, and all he wants them to do is keep knocking their hands down. And they'll go for about 10 or 15 minutes, and then he looks like a boxer from one of those college smokers where they're so tired they can't even hold their arms up in the end, and he's still pushing them. What he's trying to do is not only see their hand quickness, because you'll see that at first, but everybody's going to get tired. I don't care who it is, and what he wants to see is if they'll quit, you know, if they'll stop. He'll try to irritate them a little bit, you know, to see if they'll get agitated or if they'll stay under control and still just try to finish the drill. You know, some guys will be so tired they'll just say quit and walk off. And, you know, I think he's trying to get something out of it other than just their hand quickness or their endurance. He's trying to see something about the kid as well. And at the combine, you're going to see these guys, the same 2 guys, work out under the same conditions. So you can compare their arm strengths, you know, against all the other quarterbacks. And that's one thing I think you can see, because they're going to throw all the routes you're going to want to see.
Is there one route that you like to see a quarterback throw better than maybe another route? Is there one route that you put a little bit more weight on than another one?
Well, I think there's varying degrees of arm strength in the National Football League, and when you're looking for players, but they've got to be able to throw that deep out. And I think a lot of times if the guy can't do it, I think he's going to have a hard time with his arm at the next level. But I think you can see when he's throwing that 18 to 20 yard out, I think that's going to tell you whether or not he's got a good enough arm. There's guys are going to throw it harder than others, and but there's a certain level you want it to get there. But I think that's the most telling route that you'll see a quarterback throw at the combine. We always tell ourselves, hey, let's not make too big of a deal. A kid can go to the combine and he can blow the doors off of everything. If he's not a good football player, it really isn't going to make that big of a difference.
And most of the work has already been done by teams. In fact, Mueller says his draft board is pretty much complete. After the combine, it may get tweaked, but nothing drastic. He wouldn't tip his hand, however, on who the Saints favor, Matt Leinart or Vince Young. But whoever the team selects with the second overall pick in the draft will be going from a successful program in college to one in transition in the NFL.
Anywhere I go, being at SC, I mean, we practically won every single game we could have played, and then go into a team possibly that may struggle. But it's all preparation, it's all work. I work hard, and no matter what, I'm going to bring my talent and ability, and I'm going to bring my work ethic to an organization and help that team, win, whether it's in a year or 2 or 3 years. That's my goal and that's my mindset. So, who knows what the future's going to tell, but. I know what I'm going to bring is just a lot of hard work. I'm gonna work my butt off and get better and be a player that's going to help that team.
All I know is I just want to play football. The pick, whatever team picks, you pick. You got to go out and play and perform. And you still got to perform. You still got to do different things to better yourself with your teammates and respect of your teammates.
Another walk-in touchdown for Vince Young.
So the combine wraps up Tuesday. Both Leinart and Bush, along with Bush and Vince Young, have decided not to work out in Indianapolis, instead opting to show off at their school's pro days. Texas will go March 22nd, Southern Cal that will go on April 2nd. LSU will have 2 pro days, March 4th and the 16th. We talk a little more about the NFL Combine, and joining us now is our resident draft expert, Mike Detillier. And one of the things that Rick Mueller kept talking about was being able to look at these guys at the Combine one-on-one together in the same circumstances, on the same field with the same receivers. But now we've learned that Reggie Bush, that Matt Leinart, and that Vince Young aren't going to go through any of the drills. They're just going to go through the physical and the psychological testing. Why would they do something like that?
To be honest with you, I think pretty good amount about their size, their speed, their accuracy, their arm strength at quarterback. All that stuff. I want to know about the guy. I want to know about the man himself. And it's the first time, basically, as a GM, as a director of player personnel, as a head coach, you can sit down and go eye to eye with them and tell me why you think you can win in the National Football League. Why you think you can come to New Orleans and win here when Billy Kilmer couldn't, and Archie Manning couldn't, and Bobby Hebert couldn't? Why? Now, for Matt Leinart, that might be a short story because he's won a lot of games in the college ranks. Why do you think you'll be successful in the NFL? What makes him tick? And I think you want to see what's going to drive him, because to me, to be honest with you, this team has to go for quarterback. You look at the cut in the NFL, it's all in the AFC. It has to do with quarterbacks. Roethlisberger, Brady, Manning. You look at that particular group of guys, Carson Palmer, you could throw him in that bunch also. You would take any 4 of those guys over anybody in the NFC today. So to me, you got to decide which one of those quarterbacks fit the bill. Physically, they're both going to impress you in different ways, but it's a get-to-know session. The athletic part is one thing. I want to know what makes you, somewhere down the line, after you become an instant millionaire, I want to know what's going to motivate you to get up in that morning to do that extra work, do that study time, do those workouts.
Not only will they be looking at quarterback, there's some other areas that the Saints need to fill. For one, LaCharles Bentley, more than likely not with this team next year. Talk about where they'll be looking at, maybe some players that can sneak up and really improve their stock in this combine that'll help them out, not just at the quarterback position.
I think once you get the quarterback situation straightened out, I think from veteran free agency, I think you're going to have to look to piece in some holes along the offensive line. A left tackle position, you have a veteran in Wayne Gandy who's played his best football, and from a financial standpoint, that's not going to work. LaCharles Bentley's not going to be here. Do you move Kendall Jaycox to center and bring in a young center? But I think most of the concentration draft-wise will be on defense. Linebackers, plural, middle and outside. You need another cornerback, you need another defensive tackle. So in this draft, I think they're going to concentrate probably more on the defensive side of the football once they solve what they want to do at the quarterback spot, more than likely Matt Leinart. So I look for them to go more on defense, and so that would mean more of a linebacker group in the second round. Do you go for DeQuell Jackson from Maryland, who's got a shot to move up the charts? Abdul Hodge from Iowa. At cornerback, Kelly Jennings from Miami of Florida. Those type guys that are right on the cusp of being a late first-round pick who could slide into the early part of round 2.
Who are the guys, you talked about these guys, in your honest opinion, when it comes down to these combines, do you look more at what they've done on the field? Do you look at more like numbers? You can take 2 examples here I'll give you. Mike Mamula, average player, blew out the combine, became a first-round pick. Or you look at a guy like Edgerrin James, whose numbers in the combine kept him above Ricky Williams back in that draft.
Well, I think you're looking for a football player, not an athlete. And listen, we all fall for it. A general manager, a head coach, what I do, we all fall for the athlete. But what you got to do is put a little separation here. Is there are a lot of great athletes who can't play football. And I think that's the guessing game in every draft. Which one of those guys are really the true blue football players? And which of them are just the workout athletes, the Bruce Jenners of the world that can do all these other things but can't position one spot where they're really good at? That's the key in every draft. And also, too, I think fit. What fits for you offensively and defensively and special teams? Sometimes what fits for you may not fit for another team, and you may end up picking a player that doesn't exactly fit what you want to do offensively or defensively. So you got to have all that together. That's what makes the draft such a big puzzle, knowing the man and does he fit what you want to do.
Mike, real quick, you talk about fit. Does Aaron Brooks fit in with this new Saints team?
I think he's gone. It wouldn't shock me at all to see him reunite with Mike McCarthy in Green Bay. I think Brett Favre has played his last game in Green Bay, and they would look for a veteran quarterback. Wouldn't cost you a lot to pick him up, and that way, you know, when Mike McCarthy turns around and said Aaron goes in the game, it's not going to make a difference. Aaron Rodgers, Aaron Brooks. So I really believe that he'll be gone, and I wouldn't be surprised he ends up in Green Bay for a middle-round pick.
Mike Detillier, we appreciate your time. Thanks for joining us.
Scott. Appreciate it.
Pull up these